we, the people, tend to be very conservative with our money. We may not agree on all the social issues, but when it comes to our money, and when it comes to illegal immigration and subsidizing it and creating a massive new entitlement, we're against it, period. So, when the governor, I didn't think the governor would sign this thing. I saw it pass the Assembly, and the governor signed Act 1. It was AB 130. And I thought, okay, that was brilliant. I thought, brilliant move, Cedillo. You cut it into two parts. The first part is to get that wedge in the door and just say, hey, this is only for private funds. It sounds so reasonable. What they don't tell you is, slipped in there is the Board of Governor waiver, which means if you're poor, and most people who are coming to this country illegally are poor. They're broke and they have no provable assets. You get a guaranteed free education paid for 100% by the taxpayer. 100%. Including your books, everything. Okay? So, that was in that first bill. What I do, though, is I keep my ear to the ground, because when I ran for office, as I told you, I didn't have any money, so I spent a lot of time at people's porches. And I didn't just talk, because I knew I didn't have all the answers. What I did do is I learned, and I listened. And let me tell you, the most accurate poll you will ever get is the one that's called the man on the street poll. You know, you take the poll yourself. When you go to a restaurant, you go over, you know how you overhear people's conversations. You sit there and listen in the whole time. I know I do. Sometimes I go over and talk to them. But you know what? That right there, our phones lit up. I'm the most outspoken guy on the illegal immigration issue. And as some of you may not know this, but I formed one of the largest Minuteman groups in California, and we served on the board. It was one of our Minutemen in this room today. So, you would think that people would say, hey, you're doing a good job. No, they were calling up, yelling at me. Why haven't you done a referendum on the DREAM Act? This is when 130 passed. And they're just pouring their hearts out. They're so angry. And you know what? They weren't even from my district. And a bunch of them weren't from my party. They were Democrats. And I thought, holy moly. So we began a campaign right then. Alerting people, because one of the things the media never does, they don't tell you the truth. They don't tell you we tried to unionize babysitters.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that. Now they know if you unionize anything, it's more money into that big pot and more .50 caliber rounds are going to be shot at Shannon, Brian, and myself. But this, I could just see that this had amazing potential to unify people against the establishment. And if we unify people by organizing around an issue against the established political, worthless politicians that are up there that don't represent us, we can beat them. And so we prepared, and we went on talk radio. We tried to get people to call the governor, get him to veto it. Hey, simplest way to get a bill killed in the process is the veto pen. We wanted to let him know, Governor Brown, this is going to be extraordinarily painful. By the way, what was the governor's entire focus the first 4 to 6 months we were up there? Anybody?
Raising taxes.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. We want to raise your taxes so we can save your public school. We want to raise your taxes so we can save your cops and firefighters and unions and money for the disabled and the elderly. And somehow, when he signed AB 131 to take public funds, Cal grants for illegals, he found some slush fund of $42 million. I don't know if it was in his office. He doesn't let me in there that much. Maybe there's a special safe. But we were looking for $10 million to return it to the veterans for their aftercare program. We cut that. We were looking for money for the disabled and the elderly. Cut that. We were looking for money for our local public schools at the local level. Cut that. We cut everything. We cut the university budget $1.3 billion. That means there's fewer classes. Fewer classes being offered. Then we told the kids, you got to pay 12% more. So now they're paying more for less. Then you've got you've got the massive opportunity cost. We're holding lotteries for classes. Sorry, you can't get your class. My wife's sister is trying to retrain for a job. I think there's a lot of people with 2.5 million Californians out of work trying to retrain for a new career. I'm sorry, but these slots have been earmarked for foreign-born. Not illegals, foreign-born, because they'll pay more. So then what does the UC do? When I tried to come out here from Michigan, I wanted to go to UCLA. I wanted to become a Bruin. Hey, they got a football team. They had all these beautiful girls running around on the beach. I thought, this is the place to find a wife. This is going to be the fun place, you know. I look like this young man here in the front row. I used to have hair and muscles. You know, I was going to be in Nirvana. Instead, they said, look, we have a quota. We don't allow any more than so many out-of-state students here. Period. Even if you're willing to pay 3 times the tuition, period. There's a quota. So you need to go to Irvine and become an anteater, or go up to Davis, and so I became an anteater. You know what? We just threw the quotas out. Because those quotas only protect citizens. So we threw them out, and now we have a phone bank that would be awesome if they were calling for conservative candidates. But they're calling all over the western states and even all the way back east and trying to recruit kids to come here. Because they'll pay 3 times the tuition. Now mind you, it's just like our prisons. We are overcrowded, severely overcrowded in our university system to where we're holding lotteries for classes. It's taking 6 years to get a 4-year education. So now we're taking those students, and I know there's many students here, and we're saying, hey, you're going to be stuck in limbo, wasting your time in college when you could be out there getting into your career and paying taxes, because 53% of our income comes from personal income tax. So on October 8th, your governor signed Part 2 of the agreement. Because we have been pushing these efforts, people found my webpage. I got 200 emails on Sunday. Now mind you, I'm not tied to it other than making some comments in the news. That Monday morning, I executed my plan to file a referendum, which is why you probably see petitions there in the back. In the first 24 hours, we got 5,000 people who joined us and signed up to become volunteers. By the end of the week, it was over 20,000. We have paid petition gatherers around the state. You've heard you have to raise $3 million in order to get anything qualified. I don't think so. See, there's one thing. They forgot who they missed with. They missed with Americans. Deep down inside, people like you have woken up and remembered you're Americans. We're the people who put someone on the move. We won 2 wars on 2 different continents. We ended slavery. Think about this. We have amazing accomplishments. We invented the computer. And somebody invented the internet, but it wasn't Al Gore. The phone calls I got, 500 emails came to my personal campaign email. I read them all. People were pouring their hearts out. This issue has become this rallying cry. Way more than anything to do with the DREAM Act. 40% of the people who wrote to me are Hispanic. They're Americans of Hispanic descent. 20% are liberal Democrats. One of them wrote to me, she said, I am a liberal, I am an atheist, I am a feminist, and I am a lifelong Democrat, and Tim Donnelly, I support you 100%.
Oh, wow.
She doesn't support me on those other issues, but on this, she is on board. And think about it. I'm a pretty controversial guy because I stand up on things, so it must take a lot to reach over that divide and write to someone like myself. I wouldn't be writing to Harry Reid or Nancy Pelosi. So there's an awful lot more. A huge number, 20-25% of the people who wrote to us are students. And they're not political. A lot of my guessing and surmising, like my son, haven't registered to vote yet. But they're going to. We're going to have tables set up at college football games. You know how the students are all milling around for 6 hours with nothing to do? Hello? I've got a suggestion. Carry these. We're going to set them up. They're going to have their college Republican tables. We have Democrats as well that are going to help with this. What I'm going to ask you, right here, this is my close. It's very simple. You've heard the problems. This right here will provide us, if we get this on the November 2012 ballot, this will put a tailwind at the back of all those candidates that Shannon and Brian and I and others have been recruiting. And we will win districts that we have no business winning. This happened in 1994 with Prop 187. Because those people that are going to sign this, those people that are going to register to vote, they are going to the polls to vote on this. And while they're at it, they're going to poke their finger in the eye of the party that identified itself with the DREAM Act. And so they're going to vote for anybody, ABD, anybody but Democrat. And if we introduce them to a wonderful, charismatic candidate and they vote for them, then we win. So if your issue is the Second Amendment, so if your issue is business regulation, if your issue is the unions, this right here is the most significant thing that we can be involved in. And I am going to ask each one of you to commit to get me 100 signatures. How many of you here are willing to commit to do that? Okay, I'm not leaving until I see 100% of the hands. We have lots of petitions available here. We can get you more. They have to be physically signed. We're not doing this on the internet. There were too many mistakes. The last issue, SB 48, we got so close. This one, we feel we can get over that barrier. There's a tremendous amount of grassroots support for this. The professionals are getting on board. I'm actually raising money, which is a miracle. You can ask my colleagues who have been coaching me on it. But this is something that we can do, that you can do for your children and for your grandchildren. I want to thank you today for you guys for being patriots, for showing up on a Saturday morning and caring about your government and getting involved and organizing, because this is the great hope of our country. And they have no idea who they messed with. And when we organize, look out. Because they can talk about being community organizers. We are the community. So, Brian, did you
mention that this is such a hot issue that the paid initiative gatherers are doing this one for free?
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you know of a grocery store where there's no petition gathering and you want to be involved, hey, we will give you a banner. And all you got to do is bring a table. Somebody's got a table and an easy up, okay? Mm-hmm. And we'll get some people to go sit there for a couple hours. People are dying to sign this. They've been coming up to the paid professional gatherers who are running the Senate redistricting lines. And look, I can barely say that. Most people don't even know what it's about. But they're coming up and going, do you have the DREAM Act petition? Do you have the DREAM Act petition? So now that demand has gotten them to ask us. So we have hundreds of paid gatherers who are doing this for free. Combined with our volunteer efforts, I think this is the one that we win this year. I hope we win the Senate one. I think we're close. But this one, if we win this, this will help every conservative in the state of California, and it will help us, more importantly, take back our government. Thank you. God bless you.